Welcome to Pinellas Operations. I'm Julia Stosky, the Pinellas Operations Engineer. I'd like to introduce you to our wonderful staff and share what makes our office a little different than other operation centers. As Josh explained in the previous Learning Lab, each operation center is going to focus on different topics. Today, you're going to learn more about maintenance contracts and permits.
Good morning, I'm Ashley Satterfield, the Pinellas Operations Office Manager. Before we dive into maintenance contracts and permits, I'd first like to tell you a little bit about us here.
Our office is located at 5211 Wilmerton Road in Clearwater, Florida, and we share our campus with our asset maintenance contractor, Ferrovial Services. We used to be separated as Pinellas Maintenance and Clearwater Construction, but in the past few years, we merged into one incredible team, and that's Pinellas Operations. Here's my admin team, Cheryl Kerr and Carol Joy. They each have been with DOT for almost 15 years, and they provide administrative support to our crew here.
Good morning. My name is Robert Grimsley. I'm the construction manager here at Pinellas Operations. My duties include oversight of in-house and consultant project administrators.
Good morning. My name is Jonathan Gill. I'm the construction manager out of Pinellas Operations. I'm responsible for the oversight of in-house and consultant project administrators. They handle our construction projects here in Pinellas County. Also responsible for the oversight of our in-house final estimates team, resident compliance specialists, and contract support specialists.
Pinellas Operations has many exciting road and bridge projects ongoing. One we'd like to feature for the district on today's Learning Lab is the Pinellas Bayway Structure E replacement on the southern point of Pinellas County. You can see on the left-hand side, this is Tierra Verde in its infancy, about 1961 as the original structure was being built. And on the right-hand side, you can see now Tierra Verde has been quite developed, and you can see that we have the open Structure E.
Hello, my name is Dan White. I'm a project administrator too here at Pinellas Ops. I'm in charge of 3 projects of various sorts. I have one out on Gulf Boulevard, a drainage improvement job. I'm also doing a mill and resurface in Pinellas Park on US 19, and then I'm also doing a job out on the Skyway painting the mainstays.
This is part of my project on Seminole Boulevard. We are restabilizing the roadbed. We've had some pipe leaks out here. You can see the patches. It's been patched repeatedly and continues to sink. We put 64 points down 15 feet and stabilized it with polyurethane resin. And this will be milled and resurfaced, and hopefully that will take care of the problem.
Hello, my name is Randy Abersold. I'm a project administrator 2 here at Pinellas Ops. I currently have design build push button 4 and design build push button 5, along with a landscaping project in downtown St. Pete.
Good morning, my name is David Alonzo. I work here at beautiful Pinellas Operations as a project administrator 1. Some of my projects currently include drainage improvement up in Tarpon Springs, lighting improvement throughout the county, mangrove mitigation southwest of the Howard Franklin, and a couple bridge replacements on 4th Street North.
Hi, I'm Tammy Toms from Pinellas Operations, and I'm with the Final Estimates Group. And with me are the rest of us that work on the final estimates. We work on final estimates, monthly estimates, and we process work orders and supplemental agreements.
Jennifer Guillet, been with Pinellas Ops for 2 years as a CSS. Proud to be part of the group.
I'm Tina McGregor. I've been with DOT for 12 years. I'm part of the final estimates team here at Pinellas Operations.
Hi, my name is Lori Lenneschmidt. I'm the EEO Compliance Specialist for Pinellas Operations. My responsibilities include reviewing all of the federally funded projects assigned to Pinellas Operations, and I also approve all of the sublets.
Hello, I'm Michael Lenhart, Pinellas Operations Program Engineer, and I will be giving a brief overview of our Pinellas Operations Maintenance team, as well as asset maintenance contracts. Asset maintenance contracts are very important to how the department maintains their existing roadway and assets within DOT right-of-way. They're sometimes used to help supplement existing DOT crews, whereas in other places they are used to completely replace them entirely. For example, in Tampa and Brooksville, there's a mixture of asset maintenance contracts and in-house DOT crew maintained roadways, whereas in Pinellas, all of our roadways are maintained by asset maintenance contractors with varying contracts and have a smaller in-house team. To get into asset maintenance contracts specifically, they are performance-based contracts. They cover all maintenance activities that the department's maintenance division formally performed within those contract limits, unless exempted. The department does not direct specific work for these contracts, but instead requires contractors to continually produce a quality work product, i.e. they are tasked with generating how they are going to maintain their contract within their contract limits and their contract specifications. And there are cases where if the department has to direct work, we can compensate them for it. But primarily they are running their own ship and maintaining their own area with their own system. So how we monitor this is we have contractor quality of work evaluations. Basically, it's performed in two ways: a maintenance rating program and an asset maintenance contractor performance evaluation report. Maintenance rating program abbreviated for MRP, then the other one for AMPER. So the current asset maintenance contracts that we have throughout District 7 are basically shown here with some modifications. Starting from the north of District 7, we have Citrus County, which is currently maintained entirely by Ferrovial Services under a contract through Brooksville Operations. The next contract we have is I-75 that runs through our district, which was just switched over to Jorgensen, who's currently DBI Services, and that contract is managed out of Tampa Operations. We have Pinellas Operations, or Pinellas County, which is maintained by Ferrovial Services as well, but a different team for Ferrovial. Then we have I-275, I-4, I-375, I-175, and the I-4 connector, which is maintained by Walsh Infrastructure Management. So you can see that's the orange there. And that is managed out of Tampa Operations. And then we have our two structures contracts, which are managed through our district bridge office or district structures office. And that's for our, structures throughout the entire district, and then also for specifically the Skyway Bridge. Those were DBI Services, but recently DBI is no longer in business and they are going to be replaced by a surety company. So getting into one of the primary ways that asset maintenance contracts are monitored, since they do maintain everything on behalf of the department, the maintenance rating program is a really big thing to basically help determine if they're doing a good job. So the MRP is used to evaluate routine maintenance conditions on state highway systems. It's used to schedule and prioritize maintenance activities. It's conducted 3 times a year with an annual combined score accumulated at the end of those 3 scores, which provides their final score for the year. Sample points are randomly generated by a spreadsheet and populated on a coding sheet as far as where points to be evaluated. Each sample point for each evaluation is at 1/10 of a mile long or 528 feet in length. So basically for wherever a sample point falls, for that 1/10 of a mile, everything that's in that 1/10 of a mile that can be evaluated is evaluated. The coding sheet basically for these points is a yes, no, or leave blank type system. So if the condition is present and it meets their required characteristics for scoring, it's a yes. If it's present and it does not meet the requirements, it's a no. And then if the condition is not present, you leave it blank. The facility types that are evaluated are the same as what our facility types are broken down into. rural limited access, rural arterial, urban limited access, and urban arterial. To give you a nice quick overview, limited access are basically interstate types of systems and elements associated with them. Passing scores go in 3 different levels. There's characteristic, element, and overall. So characteristic, they need to meet a 70% passing. Element, they need to meet a 75% passing. And overall, with everything combined, they need to meet an 80% passing. So basically, the elements themselves, characteristics are individual items within an element. An element is a group of characteristics, and then there are 5 elements that contribute to the overall score. Each element is weighted a little bit differently, so that can obviously affect where you might want to put your workforce to make sure that you're focusing on what you need to. So element weights, for example, roadway is weighted at 5%, roadside at 20%, traffic services 35%, drainage 15%, and vegetation aesthetics 25%. So the coding sheet is kind of broken out like this. This is how you have your elements up here, and then you have your characteristics that are under each element, and then these are your roadway ID, your sample points, what state road they're on, what milepost, and then after they're evaluated, if it's a yes, no, or a blank. To get into the elements a little bit more specifically and the characteristics, for example, vegetation aesthetics, you evaluate things like turf condition, litter removal, tree trimming, landscaping, slope mowing, that type of stuff. For drainage, things like inlets, outfall ditches, side cross drains. For traffic services, you have characteristics like lighting, signs, attenuators, guardrail, striping. For roadside, you have characteristics like fence, sidewalk, slope pavement. And then for the roadway element, you have items like rigid paved shoulder, rigid joint, flexible paved shoulder, flexible depression bump, flexible pothole, those types of things. Once the maintenance rating program period is completed, then we're able to track the points that have failed on the maintenance rating program portal. This is a portal that's accessible to DOT employees, and it's going to be accessible to asset maintenance contractors as well. And basically, you're allowed to go in, and it'll tell you every single point where something failed during that evaluation. So you can go through and you can see if it'll give you your cost center, your facility type, your state road, all the pertinent information. And then when you view your details, it gives you more specifics as to what passed and what failed. So this is really helpful for generating future work, within your area and where you need to focus your efforts a little more. The second item that is used to grade an asset maintenance contractor is the AMPER, and this is very similar to the CPPR score for our construction contractors. This affects their ability to bid future work, and then also lets us know if they're dropping below their required proficiency on their contract. We don't want these to go below a 70. If we think they're going to go below a 70, then we let central office know, and they issue a letter basically saying, hey, we're a little concerned. And but thankfully for this, for most of our contracts, we don't have that happen, but it does happen. So there are 5 key areas that are reviewed on every contract. Not everything is applicable. So this is an example of the for other services AMPER from January to June in Pinellas County. So section 1 is performance indicators. So those are things like administration, safety, field operations, non-standard, and project specific. Then you have section 2, which is facilities, which is rest areas and way stations. Section 3 is bridges and ancillary structures, which is pretty self-explanatory, and also general structures. Section 4 is MRP, so it does get factored into this, and that's their MRP scores within the rating period for that AMPER period. And then section 5 is performance intangibles. So that's like interfacing with customers and the public, cooperation with department personnel, QC control and contract compliance, and department contract administrative efforts. So on this particular contract for Ferrovial, there are no facilities or bridges or ancillary structures, so they're not graded on those. But for the district bridge contracts, for example, those would have heavy weighting because that's primarily what they do. Another thing that asset maintenance contractors are tasked with helping out with is maintaining existing elements in between construction projects and future work program. So one way that that's done is traffic service requests. So this is a typical email that's provided by the traffic operations office, and they send them out to their respective operation centers, basically making a request to modify something within our existing right-of-way. These are often customer-generated requests that, you know, we receive a complaint or there's a safety review or something like that, and our traffic operations office reviews it accordingly and then provides the information to us that needs to be modified if they feel it's necessary. So in this particular case, our office was sent a request to move a 40-mile-per-hour speed limit sign for a better visibility. You can see below here the 40-mile-per-hour sign was under the overpass and it was kind of hard to see. So you can see where they requested it be moved. So in this particular case, we would send this request to the asset maintenance contractor. They would provide a quote for the work. We would compare it to our engineer's estimate, and if all matched up, then we would get them to go ahead to do the work. And then there's actually a specific line item within the asset maintenance contracts to perform this work that we pay for it out of. The in-house crews also do this work, but obviously it's done internally, so our in-house crews just go do it. So getting into some support tools that are used a lot to help along with asset maintenance contracts. These can also be used for in-house crews as well, but as asset maintenance contractors kind of they do cycle through different contracts more frequently. It can happen more frequently. These tools are very beneficial to help guide the asset maintenance contractors for what they need to maintain. The link to these GIS portals I've provided here, but you can also find them on the District 7 homepage under the GIS tab on the left side. So you have various things that you can look at. You have transportation viewer, documents viewer, planning viewer, maintenance viewer. The primary ones that I'll be focusing on are the maintenance viewer, and then also iView. So sorry, these are District 7 GIS portals, and then these are statewide applications, statewide GIS portals. So the maintenance viewer is a really big one that we use internally in D7. The iView is a big one that we use, and then straight line diagrams as well. But to various degrees, depending on whatever issue comes up, you can reference whichever one you need to. So here's an example of the D7 maintenance viewer with the asset maintenance layer on. It basically gives you the same information that I was showing you earlier on the initial tab or on the initial slide showing where the asset maintenance contracts are split up throughout District 7. But in this viewer, you can go in and you can select the asset maintenance contract layer, and then you can click on these specific areas to see all the information that is associated with that asset maintenance contract. Another useful one, for example, is the lighting layer. You can select the lighting layer, and it'll tell you all of our existing light poles that we have in DOT right-of-way throughout the district. You can go in and click on the specific pole, and it'll tell you what the pole is, the pole type, the pole height, all the information related to it. It'll tell you who maintains the pole, and that's really useful in helping determine who has to maintain a specific area, if it's the asset maintenance contractor or if it is a local maintaining agency. This is the signs layer. This one is also useful for helping determine if it's a DOT sign, if it's a Pinellas County sign, if it's a local agency sign. The GIS viewers are not completely all-encompassing, but they do have the majority of the information in there. So these are really helpful for our contractors to help determine if, at least initially, if it's something that is ours, what type of equipment is out there, so they can kind of get an idea before they go out there. In conjunction with like Google Street View, that's used a lot. The stormwater layer is a really big one. Whenever a depression opens up, or there's a pothole that opens up, or a drainage issue, this is a really good feature that we use to go and take a look of what's there, what's the pipe size, is it our pipe, is it not our pipe, what does it connect to, where does the water flow, what material is it, that type of stuff, because these are often under the ground, and unless you have a pipe video for it, you can't really tell all the time. So this is a really useful tool that we use and our asset maintenance contractors use, and helps again point in the right direction. Same thing with iView. iView, a lot of our issues are, it's a section number and it's a milepost, and oftentimes people don't really know exactly where that is on a specific roadway because they know street names and they know cross streets and that type of stuff. So this is a really quick reference that'll tell you, like, you put in the section number, you can even put in 00, and then you do a search and it'll pull up the entire section number, and then you can click through it and you can see what mile point you're at, or you can even put in the specific mile point if you know where you're at. You can also use this to help distribute work as well when you're issuing work documents. Straight line diagrams are another big thing that are also used in asset maintenance contracts. They reference these in order to be able to determine if it's within DOT right-of-way, if it's not within DOT right-of-way. It also references mile points as well and section numbers and that type of stuff. This particular view is of US 19, US 19 selected in Pinellas County. And then when you hit launch PDF, this gives you really good information as to, okay, this particular portion is off system. This particular portion is on system. This isn't the same location. This isn't US 19, but this was selected just to give you a good idea of how it can tell you what's on, what's off, where there's a bridge, where there's cross streets, where the mile post, that type of stuff. And then it gives you a bunch of other really good information that you can possibly use, like roadway composition and structure descriptions, like speed limit, that type of stuff. Lastly, these are a bunch of other elements that are covered by the program maintenance operations, section of the operation centers. So if you ever have any questions about anything else relating to this, you can reference this and see, and reach out to our office or any other office, and they'd be happy to help you.
Hi, I'm Phil Fletcher, Pinellas Operations Maintenance Contract Manager. Today I'll be presenting traditional maintenance contracts. Maintenance contracts, why do we need them? Well, we use them to supplement in-house crews with routine tasks that are more cost-effective to contract out to private contractors because of the cost of equipment, overhead, or activities that require special skills, such as roadway mowing, roadway striping, highway lighting, guardrail repair, concrete repair, fence repair, tree trimming, landscaping, temporary labor, street sweeping, barrier wall painting, bridge painting, pipe repair and/or replacement, and many other activities. We also use them to augment asset maintenance contracts with extending the life of roadway assets that are beyond normal maintenance. Storm sewers that can no longer be repaired, we might do a pipelining contract. Asphalt pavement that is deteriorating but can be held together with some spot milling and repaving, we would do a milling and resurfacing contract. There are different types of contracts. We have the traditional E-contract. These are advertised and the low bid gets the contract. We have contractual services agreements. Companies are invited to bid and the low bid gets the contract. We also have fast response contracts. These are used when safety or other concerns dictate that a repair needs to be completed quickly and the traditional advertising contract process takes too long. Companies are invited to bid and the low bid gets the contract. We also have memorandums of agreement. These are negotiated agreements between the department and a local city or county agency where the agency supplies services to the department. The life and death of a contract. This is a very brief overview of a maintenance contract in administration. Set up a pre-work meeting with your contractor and send the invite. You hold the pre-work meeting, send the meeting minutes, activate the contract in Site Manager, survey locations, set quantities, write work orders, send to the contractor. You inspect the work and document on a daily or weekly, check quantities and process invoices, check remaining contract dollars. If the contract is renewable at the midpoint, you would begin the renewal process. And at the end of the contract, you would close it using the district checklist.
Hello, Chris Gregory. I am the Maintenance Manager and Permits Manager here at Pinellas Operations.
Hi, I'm Drew Gething, Senior Permits Coordinator here at Pinellas Operations.
Hi, my name is Brendan Croft. I'm a Permits Coordinator at Pinellas Operations.
Hi, my name is Christian Paglialonga. I'm a Permits Coordinator at Pinellas Operations.
Hello, my name is James Hopes. I work at Pinellas Operations Center. I'm a Permits Coordinator.
Pinellas Operations Permitting. Pinellas Operations FDOT permitting staff consists of Brandon Croft, Christian Paglialonga, James Hopes, Drew Gething, and myself, Chris Gregory. Today we'll be talking about permits and agreements that reside within one-stop permitting, known as OSP. As you can see from this graphic, we have 16 permits that are available and 2 agreements that are available within the system. Access and driveway permits. These permits are governed by Florida Administrative Code 1496 and 1497. They are processed at the Operations Center level. They generally apply to installation of new access connections or modification of existing connections. Here are just a few examples of connections that you might see on the roadway. Airspace Obstruction Permit. This permit is governed by Florida Administrative Code 1460 and is handled through the Aviation Office in Tallahassee. The intention of this permit is the regulation of obstructions within the navigable airspace within a 10-mile radius of any military or public aviation facility, aka airport. The graphic below is illustrated with St. Pete Clearwater Airport in a 10-mile radius. Banner permits. Banner permits are covered by Florida Administrative Code 1443 and are processed at the Operations Center level. Placement of temporary banners for events and overhang encroachments are covered under this permit. Examples are banners over roadway, canopies hanging from structure over the right-of-way, and pole banners shown below. Building move permits. Building move permits are covered by Florida Administrative Code 1463. These permits are processed by the district office. The intention of this permit is for moving a house or structure building that is under the normal overweight overdimension permit limit, which we will talk about later. What you see is moving of buildings and structures on our roadway, but you may also see annual move permits with local school districts for the moving of portables. Drainage permit. Drainage permits are covered by Florida Administrative Code 1486 through the Operations Centers. The intention of this permit is the evaluation of drainage that is coming from an adjacent property, which may result in a permit or exemption/exception. Filming permits. Filming permits are governed by Florida Administrative Code 1465. Permitting through Operations Centers. The intention of this application is for any production company that wishes to film within the FDOT right-of-way on our roadways and or structures. Some of our recent films that we've handled are The Punisher, Spring Breakers, Top Gear, and the Dolphin Tale series. General use permits. These permits are covered by Florida Administrative Code 14-20. These are typically processed at the Operations Center level. The intention of this permit is for temporary features within the right-of-way or activity. No permanent construction can be allowed under this permit. Typically you see this in form of soil boring or monitoring wells, temporary maintenance of traffic not associated with other permitted activities, and red light running cameras. Guide sign permits. Guide sign permits are covered by Florida Administrative Code 1453 and are processed at the Operations Center level. Typically you see these for route designations, directions, wayfinding, guide signs, or points of interest, such as illustrated with the wayfinding sign you see here, entry into the local jurisdiction, or points of interest. Highway landscape permit. Highway landscape permits are governed by Florida Administrative Code 1443 and permitted through the Operations Center. The intention of this permit is for the alteration, removal, or installation of vegetation on the state highway that may or may not be linked to a memorandum of agreement. Samples of vegetation that you may see along our roadways to help beautify the area in which we work and live. Outdoor advertising billboard permits. These permits are covered by Florida Administrative Code 1410 and Chapter 479. Permitting through the Office of Right-of-Way and Central Office. Typically, you'd see these for billboards that are seen from the state roads. Overweight and overdimensional moves. These are handled through the central office. Overweight, overdimensional moves are any object that is being moved over roadways that exceed the allowable limit. Within OSP, you're redirected to the pass system for this permitting process. Typical features you might see being hauled down a roadway could be a first stage rocket being taken to Kennedy Space Center and or heavy equipment being transported over roadways. Rail corridor crossing permits. These permits are governed by Florida Administrative Code 14-57, are handled out of the rail office in Tallahassee. The intention is for any crossing of state-owned rail system for roadway connections. Road closure permits. These permits are covered under Florida Administrative Code 1465 and are processed at the Operations Center level. The intention here is for permitting local governments to hold temporary closures of roadway for special events, such as art festivals and parades. Solicitation at rest area permits. This permit is covered under Florida Administrative Code 1428. This is processed through the district office by the district permits engineer. The intention here is to allow groups to solicit within the state rest areas or water park or other features facilities owned by the department. You may see them at the Skyway rest area and or the rest stops along I-4 and I-75. Utility permits. Utility permits are covered under Florida Administrative Code 1446 and the Utility Accommodation Manual, UAM. These are processed at the Operations Center level. This permit covers the installation of utilities or adjustment of utilities within the FDOT right-of-way, which could include directional drilling, jack and boring of utilities under roadway, installation of power poles, installation of a new water feature facility. Vegetation management permit. This permit is governed by Florida Administrative Code 14-40. It is handled through the Office of Right-of-Way in Tallahassee. The intention here is for any alteration, removal, or installation of vegetation typically associated with outdoor advertising. Now we move on to agreements. Community Aesthetic Feature Agreement, otherwise known as a CAFE, is governed by Florida Design Manual Section 127 and the MUTCD. Permitting is through the Operations Center with close interaction with the District Design Office. The intention of this agreement is for the installation of public art and local markers of interest within the community. Examples are artwork, murals within trailways, wrapping of signal cabinets, or decorative art within special districts of local governments. construction agreement. Agreements are governed by the Florida Department of Transportation Design Standards, as well as many other governing design documents. They are processed at the Operations Center level. The typical use of this agreement is for the permanent modification or altering of the highway system by either local government or private developer. Typical scenarios are modification of medians, addition of turn lanes, potentially the installation of new signals associated with the developments or local government interest. This concludes our discussion on permitting and agreements. Thank you.